The Nexus Assembly Hall shimmered with ostentatious grandeur, a crystalline marvel suspended in the heart of the triangulum expanse, radiating the smug superiority of its creators. Within its vast, echoing dome, a cacophony of alien voices buzzed. Over 100 species, each draped in their own arrogance, their tones clashing like a discordant symphony. At the chamber's core stood High Arbiter Zorin, his violet flesh glinting faintly under the prismatic light of the hall's hovering luminal orbs. Known for his unshakable calm, Zorin had shepherded the rise and collapse of empires, welcomed fledgling races into fold, and rarely let trivialities ruffle him. Yet today, his 3 amber eyes narrowed with flickered disdain as he activated a shimmering datasphere. These so-called Terrans, he intoned, voice smooth but edged with scorn, name themselves Homo sapiens, a species so brash they've teetered on self-annihilation more times than most survived to reach the stars. A chorus of derision rippled through the hall. A bulbous delegate from the Korath collective quivered with mirth, its gelatinous form pulsing as it wheezed. They still churn energy from decayed plant matter pathetic. A feathered emissary from the Rican coalition clicked her beak sharply. Their wars? Petty squabbles over dirt, patches, and tribal grudges. Chaotic, wasteful. Zorin let the jeers fade, then pressed on. Our scans show their aggression is impulsive, not refined. They brawl with raw fury, not foresight. He swiped the datasphere away with a flick of his clawed hand. They pose no danger. Still, a thread of unease lingered. Whispers of Terran warriors enduring beyond reason, adapting in ways that defied logic. But such tales were dismissed as outliers, unreliable. The verdict was swift. Observe, classify, ignore. It should have been routine. The first misstep came fast. The Assembly greenlit a covert probe mission, standard fare for pre-contact worlds. A sleek, near-invisible orb slipped into Terra's atmosphere, its stealth fields humming, sensors primed to dissect the planet unnoticed. It barely lasted a quarter hour. Over sprawling farmland in what Terrans called Kansas, a grizzled man named Hank Tillman squinted at a glint above, grumbled about nosy drones, and blasted from the sky with a weathered shotgun. The slug shouldn't have pierced its alloy skin. It did. The Assembly waved it off as a fluke. Then they sent a shadow craft. It touched down silently near a desert stretch dubbed Arizona, its crew certain their phasing tech would cloak them. They didn't bank on a ragtag band of stargazers, night vision rigs, cheap drones, and a feral mistrust of the unknown, spotting them within an hour. Grainy footage exploded across Terra's digital web, screams of ET's here, igniting a global frenzy. Terran air forces scrambled, locking onto the anomaly before the craft's rattled pilot, a junior Rican named Seth. Could even ping for backup. By the time the ship's self-destruct kicked in, the planet was ablaze with defiance. Zorin, reviewing the debacle, felt a rare jolt of doubt. Maybe, just maybe, they'd misjudged. Rhea Voss wasn't the type to flinch. A decade as a Marine had forged her into something most avoided crossing. Her record a seal vault of improbable wins, brutal losses, and a body count that spanned continents. Ask her about it, and she'd shrug. I fix messes. So when her squad got hauled into a bunker briefing, she wasn't fazed. A stern-faced colonel loomed over them, arms folded, as a wall screen looped shaky clips of the Arizona mess. A shimmering alien ship flickering in and out of sight over cracked Earth. Rhea squinted. Tell me that's some fancy CGI prank. The colonel's jaw tightened. Wish it were. We snagged this before it torched itself. The room hushed as a clipped, avian voice crackled through, translated but raw. The Terrans shouldn't have spotted us. Their tools are crude. This is illogical, requesting recall. Static swallowed the rest. Rhea leaned back, exhaling. So, aliens sneak in, get busted by some desert weirdos, freak out, and blow up their ride? That's the issue, the colonel growled. We don't know what they're after, but it wasn't a friendly flyby. They were profiling us, and they'll be back. Rhea rubbed her neck. She'd trained for every foe imaginable, none from beyond the stars. Yet that spark in her gut, the one that thrived on the impossible, was already burning. Fine, she muttered. Let's figure out who's crashing our party. The Nexus Assembly wasn't used to being defied. For eons, their gaze had been a silent sentence. Species watched, cataloged, and forgotten. Terra broke that mold with a snarl. The probe's loss was a glitch. The Shadowcraft's exposure, a disaster. Now, reports confirmed Terran forces had intercepted and cracked fragments of their comms. Technology centuries beyond their reach shouldn't have even registered. Zoran sat rigid as the latest briefing beamed into the hall. The earlier mockery replaced by tense whispers. A Rican tactician rasped, "We misread them." A Korath envoy pulsed nervously. "They shouldn't have breached our systems." Zoran's claws tapped the datasphere, replaying Terran jets roaring after the crippled craft. He chronicled civilization's arcs. Weak obeyed, weak trembled. These Terrans didn't. They struck back. The hall's mood shifted as a chilling truth sank in. They'd scoffed at Terra, but Terra had just thrown down a gauntlet. The bunker air was thick, the kind that pressed him before a storm broke. Rhea leaned on a metal table, arms crossed, her sharp gray eyes flicking between the colonel's grim face and the looping alien feed. She'd sat through tense briefings before, black ops, kill counts, split-second calls. But this was alien, literally. Her foes had always been flesh and blood like her. Now, she faced something unknown, maybe unbleeding. The colonel cut the quiet. "The White House wants intel. Pentagon wants plans. I want to know if we're screwed." Rhea snorted softly. "I don't do panic, sir. I do moves." She studied the footage again. Something gnawed at her. The aliens' tech was godlike, yet they flinched, botched a simple scout job. Arrogance, maybe, or they'd never met a species that bit back. She straightened, rolling her shoulders. "We need to poke M." The colonel blinked. "Poke?" "Yeah," Rhea grinned. "Make M show their hand." Officers shifted uneasily. Reacting was one thing. Taunting was another. But Rhea never waited for punches. "Can we hijack their signal?" A tech nodded hesitantly. "Partially. Their code's insane, but we've got a short-range hook." "Good enough," she said, stepping to the console. She punched in a message, fingers swift. "Catch us if you can." The colonel groaned. "Christ, Voss." She smirked. "They'll get it." 3 hours later, aboard the Assembly's flagship, Klaxon screamed. Zoran paced the bridge, his claws twitching as he glared at the decrypted Terran reply glowing on screen. "Catch us if you can." The chamber froze, delegates gaping. "What's it mean?" a Korath croaked. "We don't know," Zoran snapped, mind reeling. They'd tapped the Assembly's relay impossible and flung back a taunt. The phrase was gibberish, but its weight wasn't. A Rican analyst chirped nervously. Terran records show similar phrasing tied to reckless defiance. Dread coiled in Zoran's chest. They'd underestimated Terra once. "No more. Send a capture team," he hissed to his enforcer. "Bring me a Terran alive." Rhea half expected the retaliation, but the execution disappointed her. The alien squad hit a backwater Oregon hamlet. Smart, assuming isolation meant easy pickings. They didn't count on small-town grit or firepower. She was nursing a whiskey in a roadside joint when the first blast shook the walls, glass rattling. The bar stilled, dust drifting. The grizzled barmaid, arms inked with faded snakes, muttered, "Great, more crap." Rhea set her glass down, cracking her knuckles. "Not from around here, I'd bet." The second boom hit as she moved, instincts flaring. Outside, 6 lanky figures in sleek. Shifting armor spilled from a wrecked RV, 8 feet tall, pulse guns humming under neon signs. Rhea dove behind a dumpster as a bolt scorched the air, then grinned as the barmaid racked a double barrel. "You handling this?" the woman asked. "Gladly." Rhea shot back. The aliens fanned out, precise, trained. Clearly they'd studied human tactics. But Rhea was a ghost, darting low, snatching a dropped pulse gun and turning it on its owner. The first crumpled, stunned. 2 more pivoted. She rolled under a bench, grabbed a tire iron, and smashed one's leg out. It screeched, collapsing. The 4th froze, Rhea smirked. "What's up, shy guy? Not your day." Then the locals erupted. Shotguns, deer rifles, pure pandemonium. The elite team bolted, the last one lunging for a portal. Rhea snagged its arm, locking eyes with its mirrored visor. "Tell him," she growled, Wrong turf. She released. It vanished in a shimmer. The barmaid poured another shot. Think they heard you? Rhea sipped, grinning. Oh, they did. Panic gripped the assembly like a plague. Hollow feeds of the botched raid looped endlessly. Analyzed, cursed, feared. Zoran stood stiff, claws clicking, watching his crack team rout not against armies or fleets, but one Terran and a mob of rustics with slug throwers. The chamber buzzed with dread. A Rickon stammered. Their moves defy logic. They should have folded, should have feared us. They fear nothing, a Korath whispered. That was a terror. Terrans didn't bend, they escalated. Turned skirmishes into chaos before anyone could react. Zoran's mind spun. One Terran, with scavenged junk and bravado, had shredded their best. A full force? He wouldn't risk it. Mass the Armada, he rasped. The hall hushed, a Rickon flinching. Sir, that's war. Then war it is, Zoran snarled. Hours later, 12,000 ships, sleek titans of the Nexus, loomed at Sol's edge. Rhea was gnawing a protein bar when her comm buzzed, her CO's voice tight. Base now. She stood, smirking at online chatter of rednecks versus ET. That bad. Worse. In the bunker, the screen showed a nightmare. An alien fleet, black as void, runes pulsing, weapons primed. They want surrender, the colonel said. Rhea snorted. Bold. 3 hours, a tech added. Then a power demo. Rhea eyed the Armada. Plan. The colonel's silence said it all. None. Zoran glared at Terra from his flagship, claws flexing as the deadline neared. 3 hours to crush their spirit. He nodded to his fleet master. Ready the demo. A Leviathan warship powered its core buster, meant to slag moons, now aimed at a Terran lunar outpost. A warning shot to break them. Yet Terra stayed mute. No please, no chaos. A chill gnawed at him. Then the reply came. Rhea, arms crossed by the comms rig, watched the brass flail. Expert scrambling, no answers. She tapped the console, then typed, Heard of Thermopylae? The colonel gaped. Voss, what? Showing and we don't kneel, she grinned. Zoran stared as the message hit. Heard of Thermopylae? He barked for data. Analysts pulled Terran archives. Thermopylae. No victory. Just defiance. A doomed stand against a Titan. His pulse spiked. They saw the odd, knew they'd lose, and still chose fight. They'll die before bowing. An analyst whispered. Zoran's gut sank. If he fired, it wouldn't end. It'd ignite a nightmare. Shut it down, he croaked. The bridge froze. Sir, down. The fleet's unfaded, weapons cold. The Nexus flinched before a speck. The flagship's bridge was a tomb, dread choking every soul. Zoran stared at Terra, unbowed, unshaken. They should have crumbled. Instead, they dared him with a ghost of their past. He'd raised worlds, toppled giants, but never faced this. Defiance over despair. Firing meant endless war, not a might, but will. Terra would adapt, endure, outlast. Stand down, he hissed again. The Armada retreated. Invincible no more. Its myth cracked. The humans had stared down doom and made it blink. Rhea watched the feed in a dive bar, encrypted chatter confirming the pullback. The official line droned about dialogue, but she knew. They'd flinched. The barmaid quirked a brow. They gone. For now, Rhea grinned. Not scared yet, but close. Next move? Rhea leaned back. We showed we're a pain to kill. Now they'll talk. 3 weeks later, a Nexan envoy landed. Warships hovering, words polished, fear veiled. Terra gained status, space, respect, but the Real wind was silent. No one would test Earth again. At the talks, Rhea eyed Zoran, haggard and wary. Quiet today, she teased, sipping tea. His gills flared. I don't waste words on impossibilities. She grinned. Too bad, we're real. He stared, then sighed. You shouldn't be perilous. Weren't supposed to topple Rome either, she quipped. Yet here we are. Zoran tensed. She was right. Chaos was their blood. As his ships lifted off, he glanced back, dread blooming. Terra wasn't done. Rhea finished her tea, smiling. told you were a handful.